This is Don Mazzella again. Well, this is Don Mazzella. This is Small Business Digest. And I had to have these two gentlemen on because they represent entrepreneurship to me to the highest order. I'm their company and their idea, I think, is terrific. They face hurdles, but I think they're going to overcome them. Tom Severini and Gabriel, I'm going to try it again. Binchesky? No, I butchered it, right?
Binchesky.
Okay. Okay. Gabriel and Tom, welcome to the program. As we ask all our guests, Tom, we're going to start with you. A brief background on you, then we'll go to Gabriel, then we'll talk about your company.
Sure. Thanks.
True. I'm going to tell you, gentlemen, so your audience, so you know, True Naked Yoga. Did I get it right?
Got it.
Okay. Please, Tom, you start.
All right. Thanks, Don. So background of mine, I grew up in New Jersey. I went to school. I was around a creative family. My dad was a photographer. I went to Parsons School of Design, graduated doing creative direction, web development. It was during the web boom era. Went about 12, I got a job at an advertising agency in New York City and was there for about 12 years, moved up the ranks to creative director, managed a web development team and advertising team there. Then decided to break off and start my own production company, doing video production, which I was also doing prior at the advertising agency. Met Gabe about 15 years ago. We started working together, just really hit it off, had a lot of the same interests, and grew to our businesses to where we were hiring each other on, producing videos, and it hasn't stopped there.
Gabriel, it's your turn.
Thanks for having us. My name is Gabriel Binchesky. I grew up in Poland in an artistic family. Did some painting as a child, played cello for 7 years, and then transitioned to a ballet school because I was very interested in acrobatics and physical activity, and music and painting was too stationary for me. So I sort of convinced my parents to push me into ballet school, and didn't know anything about ballet, but found my way around it, started enjoying it later in school, and after that danced around the world in 2 different dance companies, most notably in Nuremberg in Germany. Later, at the end of my career as a dancer, I started taking photos of dancers, learned how to translate stage experience into film, so kind of reverse engineer filmmaking process to immortalize performances that normally would just sort of disappear the moment they're performed on stage. And so through this, kind of got into film industry, and in my late 20s, I retired from dance and choreography and got into film production and photography. Still work with a lot of dancers, still sort of treat dance as my origins and like ability to capture human body and movement and kinetic energy of people as some kind of big inspiration. So this project that Tom and I have started kind of came organically from my interests in human body, human form, fitness, art, and visual arts, and those kind of things. So it was a perfect sort of storm of sources. And yeah, my relationship with Tom goes back 15 years. We've worked on many projects together, and every time there was an opportunity, we'd bring each other on each other's projects and work together. So this has been a perfect match to go to business with somebody that you connect with and have full trust in.
Well, to our audience, I want to emphasize this is not a porno site. They're on this program because they believe in this in what they're doing, and if I didn't believe in it, they wouldn't be on the program. So we'll start with Tom. Tom, tell us your website and exactly what you're offering on potential viewers.
Absolutely. Sure. So as you mentioned, it's our company's True Naked Yoga. Our website is also True Naked Yoga. That's TRUE, nakedyoga.com. We offer a subscription yoga service. They are informational yoga videos to teach you how to learn yoga. The difference of ours is they're naked. It's an instructor. We have certified instructors that create the courses and teach these courses for you. We add new videos weekly, everything from beginner to advanced, and to even to expert stuff, some aspirational videos, of contortionists, basically.
So in effect, you're saying that this is something to improve the health of your users. Am I hearing that right?
Correct. Yeah, it's a health and also a lifestyle. So it's an ability to reconnect with your body and feel good about your body. We've been sort of conditioned to be ashamed of our bodies for a long time and judge ourselves based on many different unrealistic standards that are presented to us. And so this is kind of return to the innocent relationship we have with our body as children. And so kind of remove sexuality from the picture and focuses on fitness, on beauty, on self-acceptance. And just like you said, Dan, there's infinite amount of pornography on the internet, and we are not trying to compete with that. This is not intended to be eroticized. However, again, we're body positive and sex positive, and we do not decide for our users how they want to use it. But our intention is absolutely not to sexualize this at all.
Well, now that we've dealt with that, let's talk about it more from a conceptual viewpoint. So you tell us a little bit more why a person should use yoga and why a naked yoga.
Yeah, I can touch a little bit on it, Gabe, and then take over from there if you'd like. I'd say from our personal standpoint, this also stemmed from, I mean, we were on the road producing videos quite a lot. And as I got older, my flexibility has declined, as it's Gabe's being a dancer. So I personally got into yoga in 2015 in a way of just, not having the time necessarily to do these physical workouts, but just to regain some flexibility. And also just, there's a lot of meditation involved and just getting some peace of mind and some calmness in stressful situations. That alone was just yoga. Naked yoga adds a whole nother, and Gabe touched on a couple of these points where we have increased self-awareness, improved body image, a stronger sense of yourself. Just little steps by you'd be surprised just by being around the house, even just walking around the house, or sleeping naked. There's just these benefits. And I come from a nudist family. I would have never necessarily believed all this myself, but just little by little, as you just practice, you'll be surprised.
Very cool. Yes, I think nudity is again something that's it's very natural to us and has been natural to many cultures, right, throughout history, and we find ourselves at the tail end of a very repressed time, and we're coming out of it. And I feel like yoga combines this introspective quality, and merges pretty well with nature. And has a very long history, right? In practice naked yoga that existed for millennia, and so we are just trying to bring it back to the mainstream, or to the public eye at least, right? And show it in a very respectful and non-sexual way, and make it available to everyone.
Well, I'm going to ask you a question. I once talked to a photographer that said being clothed is actually more sexually desirable than being naked. Would you care to comment on that?
That's actually very interesting. This sort of touches also on a little bit of censorship that we're experiencing because absolutely, sexuality is not necessarily tied to nudity. There's obviously, for example, animals are naked and they recognize sexual behavior from non-sexual behavior, not by presence of clothes, but by the behavior, right? There's obviously older human cultures that were not clothed in the way we are clothed, and they also had their own ways of being sexual without having to take their clothes off or put them on. We experience some of this distinction on the internet because we try to present our work publicly, and we experience a lot of censorship even when people are not when we're not showing any body parts, but just the fact that there's absence of clothes instantly puts people on the edge. While you see a lot of very suggestive and very sexual content that might have a bit of clothing in it, but it's obviously designed to elicit a sexual connotation, and so that is an interesting piece of conversation that we'd like to engage press with and our viewers, right, to discuss what nudity really means to us and how it ties with sexuality and how to find a place for nudity in a non-sexual context. Again, there was, in art, throughout thousands of years of art, we've seen sculptures and paintings of naked people, and they're not always considered pornographic, or they're not always there to elicit some kind of sexual pleasure. And yet now it's really difficult for nudity to exist on the internet without being labeled as pornographic. And so this goes also in hand with nursing and how people show breastfeeding on the internet and that kind of stuff. And that's a big conversation that we're trying to destigmatize a lot of things that are triggering to people, and just to separate one thing from another. And again, nudity does not always mean sex, and vice versa.
I agree. But sometimes you see some of these yoga outfits that women wear and men wear, but the women especially, you sit there and say, why are they wearing anything?
Right.
I'm raised in a generation where I'm old, a lot older than you. My generation, we were lucky if we saw a bikini. But anyway,
Right.
But
and interestingly, how what used to be considered very sexual, right? Like you look at what soldiers would take to battle with them. They had little drawings of fully clothed women, but that was, if they had their shoulder exposed, that was super erotic and considered pornographic. So those standards of what we consider erotic have been shifting.
Yeah.
And now you open Instagram and you see people's buttholes, and that is normal. So we really like to engage in this conversation and find out what people consider erotic, what do they find offensive, and where's the space for human body without being instantly bad in some way. We are not, however you believe we came about, nobody should think that we were made in some kind of offensive way that should offend God or the universe or whatever. Those are our bodies. This is all we have in this world, and we should be proud of it and celebrate it. There should be no reason to be ashamed or feel guilty for having them. So this is the kind of conversation we'd like to have, and there's a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this, and that's part of the fun.
Well, I could have this conversation all day, but let's back up. First off, your website again for our audience.
Sure. Yeah, that's it's true, TRUE, naked yoga.com.
Okay. Now, having said that, where is your audience, and who are your audience?
Sure. So we have a very diverse audience. We currently are in, last we checked, I believe it's 75 countries, 75 countries around the world, everywhere from 20-year-olds to 70-year-olds. We still have a little bit more primarily male, but that's shifting. I think it's about 60 male to 40 women. As our word gets out there about us and we get out in more health and wellness, the women audience is growing. We hear from customers all the time. Luckily, we have a lot of very great emails. Of course, we don't hear from everybody, but those that we do hear of are, have been in to naked yoga before, or were just completely introduced to naked yoga and through us and have started it. And everywhere from, people asking or starting to tell us that they've incorporated it, doing it with their partners in the morning or at night. It's knit them together closer to, asking about, are we going to have limited mobility programs, which we are, and we have a chair naked yoga program with the assistance of a chair that's coming out. We have programs that we also just shot and are going to release on doing yoga in bed when you wake up in the morning, or even if you've had surgery or can't have the full flexibility, something where you can do seated. So it's as we hoped, but we weren't sure. Quite a diverse audience.
Well, okay. Could I go on and get a sampling of your? I'm a voyeur. Obviously not into. I'm too old for yoga, but do voyeurs come on and say to try to see what you're seeing, and how do you guard against that?
So we really don't want to decide who's going to look at it and for what reasons. I think there's nothing wrong with looking at young people doing yoga for aesthetic reasons. Even for sexual reasons, there's really worse things that people could be doing on the internet. And so there is absolutely no reason. At the same time, also, nobody's too old for yoga. And as Tom mentioned, we design our programs in a way that they're accessible to everyone. And we got our parents involved in practicing this because they also thought that they were too old or they had too little mobility to practice. But their programs ranging from things on chair or in bed or very limited poses, all the way back to meditation. All you need to do is to practice with us is to close your eyes and sit still and listen to a guided meditation. So there is really no limit for anyone to participate. And even if you're bedridden and if you're watching somebody doing naked yoga, you can experience it without moving as well. And so we like to think of it as a product that sort of reaches people in many different ways. And yes, if somebody wants to see pretty people stretch for erotic enjoyment, that is fine as well. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. So we do have on our website there's trailers. You can look, kind of get a sense of the flavor of the practice and the locations. It's always very aspirationally located. We find beautiful places with swimming pools, sunsets happening behind. We shoot a lot of it in Los Angeles and in Florida, so they're tropical places, very, very beautiful locations. So I would encourage people to go to truenakedyoga.com and take a look at trailers there and see if there's something interesting. There's a trial membership for half of our normal subscription. You can join for a month. There's a free membership that allows you to participate in a couple of programs that are included for free. There's web galleries with beautiful photos of the models and in different yoga poses. So I just encourage you to come and take a look. We don't collect any credit cards ahead of time for free membership. And again, trial membership can be canceled anytime. There's no long-term commitments. We're trying to be as ethical and fair, right, to our customers. So we don't spam them. We don't sell the information. We just really focus on providing this beautiful content and not creating any bad blood.
Well, again, your website for people?
truenakedyoga.com.
Okay. Now, having said that, how do you go about advertising or getting people?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. You know, like I said, being in advertising, you know, most of my adult career, it's been a challenge. We can't go through all of the normal avenues, and that by that I mean, you know, it would be great if we were able to target audiences, customers on Facebook who are interested in yoga, or Instagram who are interested on yoga. Unfortunately, because of the nature of our business and what they coin us as, you know, we don't fit in their community guidelines, so we can't advertise through those routes. So you know, doing things like we're doing with you, Don, just getting the word out there and speaking to press, you know, articles. SEO is a big one for us, because, you know, you can still search naked yoga, but that's even a challenge because, as we mentioned before, there's a ton of pornographic naked yoga, and we're trying to get, you know, work our way above that, and it's working, but it takes time. But we are able to do, you know, we've focused heavily on SEO, and word of mouth referrals we found have been, you know, as our customers experience this, they tell a friend, tell a family member. That's really helped.
Well, one question: if I put up that, as I normally do, when I put this video up on YouTube and etc., where we are, will somebody censor us because we're saying true naked yoga?
So
Us being my channel rather
right.
than.
Yeah, you know, I understand. No, so what we found is, no, it's the content that's on there, and that's the funny thing is, you mentioned it on YouTube. There's without trying to get too long into this, there's been a big conversation about people posting naked yoga videos on YouTube and coining it educational, because if it's educational, it's supposed to be allowed on YouTube, even if there is nudity in there. We found that not to necessarily be so true. We've had a censored trailer that we had put up on YouTube, completely censored, and it hit over 1 million views within, you know, I mean, what, maybe 3 months, 6 months, I think. So you know, a fair amount of number, and it was pulled from YouTube because of their community guidelines. You know, we tried to appeal it, and you know, had no luck, but there are plenty of videos up there. But for you, Don, just having you know, a mention and a link, they're looking at it from content.
If you were to show nudity on your channel, then there would be a problem. But talking about it is fine, and linking to it is fine as well. Yeah.
So like a eunuch, he can tell you how to do it, but can't do it.
Correct.
But anyway, let's get. We have just a few minutes left. Well, a little bit more than that. But next question, obviously, where do you get your content from, and your yoga instructors?
So we work with the master instructor Jannica Klingborg. She's a Swedish Thai instructor that lives in LA, and she is our sort of mastermind of the program design, and we collaborate with her on the type of content that we want to bring forth. So, for example, all this limited mobility stuff, and we also talk to our community. We you know, go back and forth with our customers and listen into requests of different types of things that people are looking for. But Jannica has years of experience teaching yoga, and she's our master instructor. So she designs all the workflows, is on the set teaching them to the models, and polices the form while we shoot, and is very involved in the way that all comes to fruition. For models and for the on-screen instructors, we have held live auditions initially before COVID. We reached into the yoga community, we reached into the modeling community. There's obviously quite a lot of overlap between modeling and yoga, and so that's a kind of natural thing. Initially, obviously, it was before our programs existed, it was as a challenge to, not challenge, but it was, a talking point to explain to people what it is that we're doing. But now that it exists and people can see it and see how sort of innocent and wholesome it is, there's a lot less hesitation, and also word of mouth has traveled through the community. And so we get a lot of solicitations from models trying to find out, how do we audition? How do we become part of this? And so we've recently started featuring men on our sites per request of our audience, and that has been a little bit more difficult because it seems like men are a little bit more camera shy when it comes to nudity, which is interesting. It's interesting, but yeah, it's slowly happening where as we're getting the word of mouth out. That's always the best sort of recommendation. The best sort of finds we've had in terms of talent were friends of people who have been in the program and like, oh, this is my friend. They're incredible at yoga. They love, love your mission, and they love to be part of this. So those are kind of best things. But open calls on modeling sites, the yoga communities and yoga studios and that kind of stuff.
Well, let me go back a minute. You're not just talking about exercises. You're talking about things to help improve your mind as well. Am I right on that? Can you go
Absolutely.
a little bit into that, into the relationship between being naked and this helping the mind and body relax?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, yoga has been always associated with, with meditation, with healthy mind, and the practice of yoga is also a practice of your internal health, right? And so that is as opposed to lifting weights and listening to heavy metal, you do calm yourself and find your peace inside. And our programs have a range of like high intensity sort of workouts and all the way down to actual meditation, right? Where you actually don't move your body at all and you just calm your mind and you concentrate and you focus. And so it is obviously, the benefits of meditation of Zen are very well known, and we're not going to try to sell anybody on that, but that's combining yoga and meditation and this internal health with self image that naked yoga repairs, right? The ability to reconnect with our own body that we've been sort of fighting against all our lives is additional sort of part of a mental component to all this, right? The self-acceptance and self-love.
Well, I can't even do the lotus position, but how does getting into position help you focus your mind? Can you just do one example, just so our audience can know?
Yeah, and so there is a lot of the yoga positions are sort of either very relaxing or very strenuous, right? But they all require the peace internally, right? To get into and then to persevere through. And so there is a certain amount of mind over matter approach to this, right? Where you just kind of concentrate and then try to breathe through problems, try to relax, try to find the places where it hurts and work through that, rather than just kind of brute force your way into it, like lifting weights or CrossFit or any of those sort of high impact exercises would be, right? And so there's a lot of introspectiveness, and we all know that, if you listen to your body, then you're less likely to hurt it than if you just do something against what the body wants. So lotus and all these other difficult poses are not always in reach of everybody. Some people's anatomy doesn't. I was a dancer all my life, and I still cannot do lotus. That's just my hips don't open up that way. But I could improve flexibility in many different areas. And as a ballet dancer, I used to work in a very contradictory way to what my body wanted. Ballet is a very sort of rigid structure that sort of you force your body to hit certain shapes. And yoga is a very different, has a different approach and mentality. So that's been really, really nice to actually change that for me personally, and to listen to my body and then sort of gently work my way to those certain things rather than just slam into it. That's why you don't hear a lot of yogi practitioners who have retired because they broke their knees, unlike ballet dancers and other athletes, right? Who get injured on the job. yogis don't get injured on the job, which is great.
I'd also add just that yoga also has a lot to do about breath work, and with our voiceovers that are guided instruction through all of our videos, they're going to tell you about inhaling and exhaling as you go through these movements. Along with, we have very calming soundtrack, and as Gabe mentioned before, just the physical location. So just alone, if you can't even practice all the moves, but just listening and watching, you're gonna notice some of these calming, peaceful effects.
Yeah, and also our instructors always also provide alternative poses, right? So if you cannot hit this pose, there's a modification that allows you to hit a similar pose that's easier to achieve. So there's a certain amount of customizability, and again, we aim to be able to provide programs for all body types and all ages and all levels of mobility.
I'm going to throw a tough one at you, which is, well, why not just do it with clothes and build up an audience that way? Certainly, to be more erotic almost, but why not?
Those programs exist already, and they're very good. For us, the element of nudity is important. It's not irrelevant. You know what I mean? It's what we talked about: body positivity and self-acceptance, and also the beauty of a human body. It's not, David didn't, Leonardo da Vinci didn't sculpt all these sculptures clothed for a reason, right? If you want to see the structure of the muscle, the human form, that's how we're made. We're not made in yoga pants. And so for us, it's an exercise in marrying the art form of yoga and the human body and presenting it in an artistic way. And again, the practice of naked yoga also exists as long as yoga. So we're not creating anything new. We're just bringing it to people, but it's existed for thousands of years.
Unfortunately, Gabriel, that's going to have to be the last word, except for your website one more time.
Go ahead, Tom.
Sure. That is TRUE, nakedyoga.com.
All right. On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us.